You know, what if the real key to building muscle wasn't just about your biceps, but was actually hidden deep inside your brain? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what smart training really looks like. We're moving past all those no pain, no gain cliches to build a science-backed blueprint, one that'll help you get stronger, get bigger, and recover way smarter, just by understanding how your nervous system is the one truly running the show. So here's the game plan. We're going to start by looking at muscle in a whole new light, as a vital organ for a long and healthy life. Then we'll get into how the brain acts as the command center for every single movement you make. After that, we'll lay out a smart training plan based on real evidence. I'll show you a zero-cost way to test your recovery. And finally, we'll talk about how to make sure you're not accidentally undoing all your hard work. All right, first things first. Let's completely redefine what muscle is. We usually think about it for sports or, how we look in the mirror. But its role in our health is so much deeper than that. It is not just for show, it's a critical organ that literally dictates how well we age and function every single day. And this really just says it all, doesn't it? Think about it, from the totally automatic act of breathing that keeps you alive to just standing up from a chair. That's all muscle. It's the engine behind everything. So maintaining it isn't just about getting stronger. It's about preserving your fundamental quality of life. Okay, so if muscle is the engine, what's the ignition? What's the control system? Well, it all starts upstairs, in your nervous system. Every single rep, every single contraction you make begins as a tiny electrical signal in your brain. This means that real muscle growth, well, it's actually a neurological event. And what's so cool is just how direct this whole process is. So you have a thought, I'm gonna curl this dumbbell. That starts with what are called upper motor neurons in your brain. That signal then zips down your spinal cord to the lower motor neurons. And they release a chemical messenger, acetylcholine, right onto the muscle fiber. It's basically a direct command, contract. It's a beautiful, super efficient three-step chain, from a simple thought to a physical action. And here's where it gets really important for your training. Your intention changes everything. When you train for pure strength, you're teaching your muscles to work together as a team, as a synchronized system to move big, heavy loads. But when you train for hypertrophy, for size, it's kind of the opposite. You're trying to deliberately isolate a muscle to create a really focused, intense, and localized contraction. They are two totally different skills you're teaching your nervous system. Right. So now that we get that, we can start to build our smart training blueprint. This is where we take all that neuroscience and turn it into a practical, effective plan for what you should actually be doing in your workouts. So let's just start by tackling the biggest myth in the gym. This idea that to get bigger and stronger, you absolutely have to be lifting crazy heavy weights all the time. But is that really what the science tells us? The answer is all wrapped up in this one fundamental idea, Henneman's size principle. Your body is incredibly efficient, right? It's basically an energy-conserving machine. So for any task, it's only going to recruit the smallest, weakest motor units it needs to get the job done. To get to those bigger fibers, the ones with the most potential for growth, you have to create a demand that they simply can't ignore. And this is the game changer right here. The research shows that this demand doesn't only come from lifting super heavy. There's a surprisingly wide and effective range. Training with weights that are anywhere from a light 30% of your 1-rep max all the way up to a heavy 80% can trigger powerful gains in both strength and size. The key isn't just the weight on the bar. You see, the real goal isn't just to lift a weight, it's to recruit more motor units. As you push through a set, even with a lighter weight, those first responder muscle fibers start to get tired. And to keep that movement going, your nervous system is forced to call in the reserves, the bigger, higher threshold units. So it's that sustained effort, not just the sheer load, that really triggers growth. So how much work do you actually need to do? Well, the data is pretty clear on this. Just to maintain the muscle you already have, you're looking at around 5 good quality sets per muscle group each week. But for most people who are actually trying to grow, that sweet spot is somewhere between 10 to 15 sets per week. It's that consistent stimulus that really drives the change. But look, training is only half the battle. The real magic, all the growth and repair, that happens when you recover. The question is, how do you know if your body is actually recovered and ready for more, instead of just, guessing? No, seriously, think about it for a second. Most of us just go by feel, right? Am I sore? Do I feel tired? But those are just subjective feelings. What if there was a simple, objective way to actually measure if your nervous system is ready to perform? Well, there are, and these two tests cost you absolutely nothing. Both your grip strength and something called the CO2 tolerance test give you a direct window into the state of your central nervous system, that command center we talked about. This can tell you if your body is truly prepared to handle more training stress. So let's walk through this CO2 tolerance test. It's incredibly simple, and it gives you a great snapshot of your nervous system's stress levels. First, you're going to take 4 calm, deep breaths in and out through your nose. Then, on the 5th breath, you take the biggest inhale you possibly can. Fill your lungs all the way up. Hit start on a timer, and then exhale through your mouth as slowly and as controlled as you can. You're trying to make that exhale last as long as possible. When you are completely out of air, stop the timer. That number, that's your score. So what does your score mean? This table makes it super easy. If your exhale time is under 25 seconds, your system's probably under-recovered. It might be a good day for some active recovery instead of a hard workout. If you're in that 30 to 60 second range, you're in the green zone. You are recovered and ready to train. And if you're hitting over 65 seconds, well, that means your system is exceptionally recovered and ready for a peak performance session. All right, we're in the home stretch. You've trained smart, you've measured your recovery. Now let's just make sure you aren't accidentally sabotaging all that amazing work with some really common post-workout habits. And here are 2 of the biggest culprits: that post-workout ice bath that's so popular, or even just popping a common NSAID like ibuprofen. They might feel like they're helping you recover faster, but they can actually blunt the very signals your body needs to adapt and get stronger. And here's the bottom line: the workout itself is the stimulus. That inflammation that comes after isn't the enemy, it's the messenger. It's the biological signal that tells your body, hey, we need to rebuild this area, but this time bigger and stronger. When you prematurely shut down that signal with extreme cold or certain drugs, you're essentially muffling the message for growth. Which really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own approach to fitness. Is every part of it, your training, your recovery, your post-workout habits, is it all built to send a clear signal for adaptation? Or are you just chasing exhaustion? Because building a stronger body isn't about annihilation, it's about smart communication. The world of fitness is it's packed with rules. Strict, unforgiving rules that promise you results, but way too often they just give you a whole lot of frustration. Today, we're not just gonna poke holes in those rules, we're gonna tear them down completely. I want you to just think about this for a second. What if that constant nagging anxiety you feel about timing your protein shake just right, or the limits you put on how much you can eat in one meal? What if all of that was just based on a complete myth? What if the real key to progress wasn't about adding more rules, but about finally breaking free from the ones that were never real in the first place? Because that's what these rules become, right? A prison. They dictate your schedule, they cause so much stress around food, and they just suck the joy out of what should be a powerful journey. Well, today is breakout day. We're gonna expose the 3 biggest lies that have been holding you back, and I'm gonna give you the keys to unlock those doors for good. All right, lie number 1. It's a sound we all recognize. It's that frantic, ticking clock that starts the second you finish your last rep. That mad dash for the protein shaker, all because you're terrified that every ounce of effort you just put in is about to just vanish. And there it is, the infamous post-workout anabolic window. This idea that you have this tiny little 30 to 60-minute window of opportunity to refuel, and if you miss it, well, too bad, no gains for you. For decades, this has been treated like the absolute truth. So where did this even come from? Well, the original science actually looked at a really specific scenario. Athletes who are training on a completely empty stomach, like after an overnight fast. And in that one single context, yeah, it makes sense to get nutrients in quick. But let's be honest, how many of us are actually training like that? Now, here's the reality for most of us. If you had a decent meal, even a few hours before you hit the gym, your body is still busy digesting and absorbing those nutrients. That one meal keeps amino acids, the building blocks of protein, circulating in your blood for 3, 4, sometimes even up to 6 hours. This means they're already there during your workout, and for a long time after. That so-called window isn't slamming shut on you. So let's just reframe this whole thing. A single weight training session boosts muscle protein synthesis, which is the actual process of repairing and growing muscle, for way longer than an hour. It actually peaks about 24 hours later, and it stays elevated for 48, sometimes even 72 hours. So the real takeaway is this. Your opportunity to fuel muscle growth isn't some fleeting 30-minute sprint. It's a marathon. It lasts for days. That pressure you feel to down a shake the second you drop the weights, it's just not necessary. You can take a breath. You can relax. Okay, on to our second lie. This one isn't about time, it's about amount. It's a single golden number that has forced countless people to awkwardly spread out their meals all day long, causing a ton of inconvenience. You've probably heard this one. Your body can't handle more than 30 grams of protein at once. Anything more is just wasted. Well, this idea comes from a big misunderstanding. It confuses how much your body can digest, which is pretty much all of it, with how much it uses for muscle building in one go. And as we're about to see, even that part of the idea is totally outdated. Yeah, newer research has just completely shattered this 30-gram ceiling. One study in 2016 found that taking 40 grams of protein after a tough workout stimulated way more muscle growth than 20 grams did. And even more recently, a study gave subjects a huge 100-gram dose of protein and found it led to a higher and more sustained muscle-building response than a standard 25 grams. The body is smart. It uses what you give it. So what does that mean for you in the real world? Say you go out and have a massive steak dinner. Can your body actually put all of that protein to good use? The short answer is a resounding yes. Your body is an incredible machine. It's not just going to throw away those valuable resources. So we've debunked the lies about when you have to eat and how much you can eat at once, but really, these are just symptoms of a much bigger, more damaging lie. And that is the lie that all these complex timings and fancy tactics are what matter the most. This is what keeps us obsessing over the tiny details while totally ignoring the one single foundation that actually creates change. So let's just do it right now. Let's let go of that stress, forget about the ticking clock, forget about measuring out 30-gram portions of chicken every 3 hours. Let's wipe the slate clean so we can focus on the one thing that truly matters. Because real, lasting progress isn't found in some complicated timing strategy or a magic meal size. All of the evidence, all the science, it all points to one simple, powerful principle that is way more important than all of that other noise combined. And this is it. This is the number. This is the foundation. The science is incredibly consistent on this. For building and keeping muscle, you want to aim for around 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight each day. If you use pounds, that's about 0.7 grams per pound. Get this right day in and day out, and I promise you, you have done 90% of the work. And honestly, this is the absolute best way to think about it. Getting your total daily protein right, hitting that 1.6 grams per kilo number, that's the whole cake. Everything else, the timing, how you split it up, that's just a really, really thin layer of icing. Sure, for a world-class Olympian, maybe that icing makes a tiny difference. But for the rest of us, it is all about the cake. So this is your new rule book, and it's beautifully simple. Step 1, your only real priority, hit your total daily protein target. And step 2, well, that's everything else. As long as you nail step 1, how you get there is so much less important. Look, understanding this isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about gaining freedom. It's about taking back control so you can build a fitness plan that actually serves your life instead of you serving its ridiculous rules. Here's another classic example of this freedom in action: fasted cardio versus fed cardio. People argue about this endlessly. And yes, it's true, doing cardio on an empty stomach burns a bit more fat during that one session. But if you eat before you do cardio, your metabolism gets a boost and you just burn more fat later in the day. So when you zoom out and look at the whole 24-hour day, the total amount of fat you lose is exactly the same. The magic was never in the specific tactic, it was just in consistently doing the work. The best time to do cardio is simply the time that you will actually do it, consistently. It's about your preference, not a prescription. So these are your new principles. Your principles of freedom. First, focus on total daily protein. Remember, that's the cake. Second, eat on your schedule, not on a clock's. Third, stop stressing about things like the anabolic window. Fourth, train whenever you feel your best, fed or fasted. And finally, the most important one, build a routine you can stick with because you actually enjoy it. When you let go of these lies, you free up so much mental space and energy. You can finally focus on what really moves the needle, your consistency, your effort, and finding some joy in this process. So the only question left is, now that you're free from that prison of rules, what are you gonna build? You know the feeling. We've all been there. You're pushing, you're pulling, just grinding away in the gym, doing everything you think is right, only to hit a wall. But what if that wall isn't in your muscles at all? What if the real barrier and, the ultimate key to unlocking growth is actually in your head? All right, let's dive into this. We get taught this idea that more is always better, right? More weight, more reps, more pain. But this forces us to stop and rethink everything. Today, we're going to shift our focus from just brute force to, let's call it, biological intelligence. We're going to explore a much smarter way to actually command growth. So first things first, let's talk about that super frustrating place where so many of us get stuck, the plateau. It honestly feels like an invisible wall you just can't seem to break through no matter how much effort you throw at it. This is the classic scenario, isn't it? You're putting in the work, you feel the strain, you are totally consistent, but the mirror and the measuring tape, they just aren't reflecting your effort anymore. It is so disheartening, and it's the exact reason we have to start looking beyond the muscle itself. Okay, so now let's pull back the curtain and meet the real boss of this whole operation. And spoiler alert, it is not your bicep. It's your nervous system. This is the command center that dictates every single contraction and, when you get down to it, every single bit of growth. So how does this actually work? Well, every single deliberate movement you make begins as an electrical thought, an impulse way up in your brain's motor cortex. That signal then travels like lightning down your spinal cord, which acts kind of like a relay station, and finally, it zaps the target muscle, telling it to contract. It's a top-down chain of command, and believe me, the quality of that signal is everything. And to get a little more specific, we need to talk about something called the motor unit. Just think of it like a light switch for a small group of muscle fibers. See, your brain doesn't just yell at the entire muscle at once. It flips these little individual switches. The more of these motor units you can turn on, well, the more powerful and complete that contraction is going to be. And this right here is why the mind-muscle connection isn't just some gym bro hype, it's pure efficiency. This stuff isn't about just moving weight from point A to point B, it's about becoming a master electrician for your own body. When you can intentionally fire a specific muscle with intense focus, you're sending a much stronger, much clearer signal for growth. Now, this brings us to one of the biggest myths in the entire fitness world. The idea that you have to constantly be lifting brutally heavy weights to grow. Let's just go ahead and dismantle this illusion right now. Here is a game-changing distinction I want you to really get. Your muscles don't know how much weight is on the bar. They can't read numbers. They only understand one single thing: tension. So the real goal isn't to lift the heaviest weight possible, but to create the most effective tension inside the muscle itself. This is all based on a classic scientific principle of muscle recruitment. The whole idea is to activate more and more of those motor units we were just talking about. And here's the secret: you can actually achieve that high-level recruitment with moderately heavy weight taken close to failure, not just by maxing out on every single lift. The goal is to recruit more muscle fibers, not just to lift raw poundage. And this chart, it just visualizes the science beautifully. I mean, look at that massive sweet spot. Pretty much anything from 30% all the way up to over 80% of your 1-rep max can effectively stimulate growth. This should be so liberating. It means you have this huge toolbox of intensities to work with, which allows for better form, way less injury risk, and a much smarter path to progress. Okay, so we've busted the myths. Now let's build on that knowledge with a practical, actionable blueprint for how to structure your workouts for real, sustainable growth. At its very core, muscle growth is just an adaptation. And to get your muscles to adapt, you have to give them a reason. The science really points to 3 main signals. There's mechanical tension from the lifting, there's metabolic stress, that burn, and then there's microscopic muscle damage that signals the repair and rebuild process. So how do we apply those triggers? Well, it really comes down to volume. Let's start with the baseline. How much work does it take just to stay where you are right now? The research is surprisingly clear on this. It's about 5 hard sets per muscle group per week. That's what's known as your maintenance volume. It's the minimum dose you need just to maintain your current muscle and strength. Anything less, and you're probably losing ground over time. But hey, we're not here for maintenance, are we? We're here for growth. So what's the target zone? Well, for most people, the real sweet spot for actively stimulating new muscle and strength gains lies right here, somewhere between 10 to 15 quality sets per muscle group each week. This is the volume that provides enough tension, stress, and damage to signal real change, without just overwhelming your body's ability to recover. This right here is where the magic happens. This might be the most important part of our entire explainer today. You can have the most perfect workout plan in the world, but if you don't understand recovery, you are just spinning your wheels. It is time to learn how to decode your body's most crucial feedback. I want you to forget about just asking, "Are my muscles sore?" That is such a tiny part of the picture. The real question, the one that matters, is whether your command center, your central nervous system, has actually recovered. It's the system that takes the biggest hit from intense training, and its readiness is the true gatekeeper to your next great workout. So how do you measure nervous system recovery without some fancy lab? Well, here is a brilliant, zero-cost tool you can use every single morning. It's the CO2 tolerance test. It's a direct measure of your autonomic nervous system state. All you do is follow these simple steps right when you wake up, before you even get out of bed. And here is your decoder ring. This simple scorecard translates your exhale time into a clear, actionable decision for the day. It completely replaces how you feel with objective data. A time under 25 seconds, that's your body waving a big red flag, telling you to prioritize recovery. Between 30 and 60 seconds, you're cleared for your planned workout. And over 65 seconds, man, your system is primed and ready to go for a high-intensity challenge. This is literally listening to your body with numbers. And one final crucial warning here. We often reach for things to reduce soreness, but some of these common practices can actually sabotage our progress. See, the inflammation from a workout, that's a signal for growth. Things like ice baths and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can actually blunt that signal, basically telling your body to cancel the repair and rebuild process you just worked so hard to initiate. So, we're gonna end here. You now have the tools to look past that invisible wall. You can train smarter, not just harder. You can actually listen to your nervous system and understand what it's telling you. The conversation between your brain and your body, it's happening every single second. And now, you get to be an active part of it. So what will you build together?